I measured the frequency response of 40 mic positions to build this calibration profile, which should help me improve my room's response, because we need to answer the big question: is dropping $500 on room calibration software worth it? SonarWorks, what is it? How does it work? Here's an excerpt from the website. Even the best speakers can't compensate for the acoustics of a poorly designed room. Sound ID Reference compensates for that by measuring the frequency response of your room and speakers to create a calibration profile. Now, my room is far from poorly designed, but it does have a response plus minus 5 dB from 350 Hz and below. And if I can get that response down to plus minus 3 dB, I'm going to be very happy, because in the room of acoustics, that's very tight. That is pretty good. But first, you might ask, why is there a deviation in any room's response? See, the frequency response of any room, including yours, the one you're listening to this in, is dictated by the physics around you. All rooms contain 3 dimensions or axes: a length, x, y, and z. Now, these distances dictate the phase relationships of sound waves. Most problematically, half wavelengths and multiples of that length bounce off the boundaries and multiply upon themselves, causing peaks and ringing at those frequencies. And we define those wavelengths as room modes. Now, managing room modes above 100 Hz is doable with broadband absorption, and I've done that well in this space. But below 100 Hz, you need either quarter wavelength traps or membrane absorbers, both of which take up valuable real estate or are complicated and expensive to build. So this is where something like SonarWorks has piqued my curiosity. Now, I didn't have SonarWorks, so what I did is I reached out to DJ City here in Melbourne to partner up on this video on the proviso. Now, this is the good proviso that I got final cut, I could remain objective and do this video my way. And they agreed, which is a testament to their support for the producer community, and I'm just happy to bring more value to you, the viewers, by getting access to more tools. So thanks again to DJ City for supporting this video. If you're in Australia, or if you're somebody who's touring through Australia, they're the biggest DJ sound and lighting superstore around, so make sure to bookmark their link in the description below if you ever need anything on the fly. So here's what DJ City sent out: the measurement microphone, which is what comes with SonarWorks with the registration code for the software, and that's what you'll need to create the calibration file. But I was sort of stuck a little bit because my converters don't have mic pre's or inputs or anything with phantom power, so they actually sent over the Arturia Mini Fuse 2 to connect this all up. And I'm not really somebody who gears or geeks around a lot with interfaces and whatnot, but this was super easy. Within 5 minutes, I plugged the mic in, I plugged the speakers in, I plugged the USB-C into my laptop, and we were ready to roll. Now, setting up everything with SonarWorks, the interface and user experience is, you can tell they've thought about it and they've really tried to make it super easy to follow. You input the dimensions of your listening area, and with some intermittent bursts, the software is able to localize the X-Y axis position of the measurement microphone by taking into account the time delays. Now, it's very smart use of technology, but it's not without its flaws. The first thing is, the setup wizard suggests holding the microphone to move it around to each test position. Now, in my experience, any deviation will change its measurement. So if you move the microphone in the middle of a test, you're going to move it off axis and it's going to change the measurement. So I ended up doing these calibrations with a microphone on a stand. And secondly, and this was super confusing, is any deviation from the Z-axis. So if you move the microphone up or down, it will confuse the tracking position of the software, and that had me really stressed out at one point, because when I started doing these measurements, the second measurement is in the top left, and for 10 minutes I was trying to figure out why the microphone was tracking further away from the position as I brought it closer to the speaker, and what it was me unintentionally lifting that microphone on the Z-axis. So after enabling this calibration profile, I've been using it for a week, and I got some comments about that, but this was my room before SonarWorks. Okay, you can see plus minus 5 dB deviation in the low end, and this is the room's response after SonarWorks. Way tighter. Now, the week of using it, it has been really good. It hasn't affected the pedigree of the way I'm monitoring. Like, some people say that it sounds a bit phasey, or there's pre-ringing in the linear phase mode. I'm actually not using the linear phase mode for this. It's just an EQ curve that compensates for the space, and it's doing a really good job in use. Now, I got to answer the big question, which I said at the start of this video: is it worth it? Is it worth $500? Is it worth $299 US if you're over in the US? Contextualizing this answer, it is worth it if you've spent the money on speakers, and you've already treated your room and you want to get that extra performance. You're already $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, maybe $10,000, $15,000 in on your setup. $500 is a drop in the ocean to get an exponential, what I would consider a very great deal of improvement that would otherwise cost you thousands of dollars to get base traps built or membrane traps specifically built for the space to somewhat improve the performance. But this is very much so, it closes that gap. $500, it's a no-brainer. Now, who isn't this for? And there's a bit of a use case for who this isn't for. This isn't for somebody who's bought Logitech speakers and they're working in a super small room without any acoustic treatment. Those rooms, there's only so much compensating you can do for, and it's not going to do it in those rooms. It's not going to help the sound be better. It's just you're going to still have all those first reflection points. You're still going to have all that ringing out, which you haven't already managed. What I would suggest is getting a good pair of headphones in those situations. However, for somebody who's spent money on your producer setup, on your mixing setup, you've put money in the game, $500, exponential improvement here in room response. At least I've found it is definitely worth it. And if you want to improve your frequency response further for $0, check out this video where I leverage the physics of SBIR and a calculator I made, and I improve the low-end frequency translation of the room by ±2 decibels.